Now, hundreds of passengers who were due to fly today with the airline Fly BMI are having to make alternative arrangements after it cancelled all of its flights and filed for administration. And joining us now is the former head of communications at the British Airports Authority, Andrew Teacher. Andrew, thanks a lot for coming in. Was this widely expected?
Well, if you look back to 2005, when what was the original British Midland used to carry about 10 million passengers, even at that time they were making only about £1 per passenger in profit. £10 million in profit, 10 million passengers, not a lot of profit. And I think what we've seen over those ensuing 13, 14 years is that the airline industry has become a very low-margin business, and that's fine if you're Ryanair and you're carrying 100 and 120 million passengers a year. IAG, International Airlines Group, the company that owns British Airways, again, 80, 90 million passengers. But poor old BMI, with around 500,000, it just was never going to have the scale to continue. And the statement that it put out last night, blaming Brexit, it's a bit of an echo of what Norwegian issued around 10 days ago. Again, blaming Brexit uncertainty, blaming fuel costs. And again, those are going to have been accentuated by the fall in the pound, directly linked to Brexit. But I think, despite the zombie government, we've got the zombie opposition and all the chaos surrounding Brexit, what this is more of a case of is a zombie company that's been on the ropes for years. What
happens about the passengers? If you've got a flight with BMI, if you're somewhere and need to come home, what happens?
Well, right now, not a lot's happening. I think there's going to be a question this morning over what the government's response is going to be. The government's probably not going to want the £60 million repatriation bill that it was faced 2 years ago for Monarch, when it had to bring home 100,000 passengers, the biggest repatriation in peacetime Britain, with a big price tag attached to it. And it wouldn't cost anything like that for this. It's a much smaller passenger load. But that said, there will be renewed questions around how these things are insured against, and what the airline industry is going to fight tooth and nail to prevent is any kind of atoll being applied to flight-only deals.
So do passengers just generally have to book new flights on other airlines to come home?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a question depending on how you've booked it. If you've booked it through a tour operator that does have some kind of protection, like Atoll, against it, then that will be covered. If you've booked it on a credit card, then the likelihood is that it could be covered, and potentially on debit. But it depends, because different bank cards have different things. I mean, I've had issues in the past, and if you've got an Amex charge card, that isn't going to protect you, whereas credit cards do. So it's a question for your credit card, your bank, and potentially people will be able to get out of jail with those options. But I mean, the moral of the story, I think, now is book using some kind of insurance, book using a credit card to offer enhanced protection, because these sorts of issues are going to continue to happen. Airlines are a low-margin business, and whilst I don't believe this particular case is wholly driven by Brexit, we are seeing absolute chaos everywhere. And until people start waking up and realising that the zombie government we've got, the zombie opposition that we have, are continuing to cause damage to British business.
Fuel prices, right?
Yeah, but these things don't happen in a silo. Fuel prices go up and down, of course they do. The fuel is a very volatile commodity. But I think what we're seeing here is that everyone dismissed a lot of the Brexit-related negativity as being Project Fear, and what we're seeing now is that it's starting to come through.
Let's move away from that. The employees, obviously devastating news for them. Almost 400 people. What happens to them now?
I mean, it's terrible news for the employees. It's a really bad thing to happen. I mean, again, the statement that they issued on the BMI website last night has basically said the company has stopped trading. So hopefully, depending on what the administration process looks like, there'll be some kind of payout for people. But I would suspect at this point in time, having not seen any of the detail, that will be, they're probably going to get the bare minimum, I'm afraid.
OK. Andrew Teacher, thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you.